Hey guys, welcome to the studio. Still remodeling the A studio entirely with a new approach. This might take a couple of weeks, but I will definitely keep you updated. So most of the day is going through all of this kind of stuff, cables and gear, and like check what I actually still need. And the other half is then just sitting in the B studio and making music. And a lot of you guys asked me about my song Secrets that is still in the BEATPORT charts and is close to 100,000 plays on Spotify within just 2 or 3 weeks. So thanks a lot to all of you for making this happen. But a lot of you asked me how I actually edited the vocals, how I got them right. So today's video will be all about vocal editing and how to make them sound as professional as possible.
My secrets, I lock up and keep them. My secrets, too dangerous to give away.
So the by far most important, whenever it comes to vocals and make them sound pro, is your source. I can't stress that enough, but it's so important. It needs to be the right singer that is just able to sing. If you take a shitty singer, there's not much you can do. Yes, you can pitch correct it, melodyne it, and maybe get it somewhere, but it really needs to be good at the source. So get someone that can actually sing, record it in a vocal booth if possible. If not, then at least use a decent mic and record it in a room that is acoustically treated, or at least doesn't have that much reverb or echoes, flutter echoes, and this kind of stuff. On my Secret song, all of this was done in perfection. Salvo, the girl being the feature on this song, she recorded all of this in LA. I think she recorded it at home. She's using a Halo, a mic, and it sounds really good. There are no like strange reverbs in it, and it was also clean and like loud enough, like not clipping of course, and not too much noise in it, actually like none.
Hard to articulate, to enunciate, but I know you're waiting for it. I just can't let it go. Reason unknown, ready to implode. My secrets.
I absolutely love that. Like my secret. It sounds really like sexy. It fits really the vibe of the song. It's strange to hear the vocals by themselves, and I removed most of the editing to actually be able to show it to you. So these are the plain vocals. There's, I think at the moment, nothing on it except for low cuts. And as you can hear, it's not just like one voice. You just don't put a singer in the vocal booth, record them once, and that's it. You always record multiple takes of the same thing as precise as possible. You always have like the one main vocal that sounds pretty much like this.
Hard to articulate, to enunciate, but I know you're waiting for it. I just can't let it go. Reason unknown, ready to implode.
And then you got left and rights.
Hard to articulate, to enunciate, but I know you're waiting for it.
And as you can hear, Salvo did an amazing job because she understands how it has to be done. She's singing them differently. She's singing the doubles differently, softer, and like leaving out the P's, B's, T's, everything that is harsh and that could add up. If you have a lot of these hard T's and it's in the main vocal and in the doubles and they're not aligned 100%, you will have 5 of these, and that's like too much overkill. So if you can already remove them while singing, that's the way to go. We have then, let's check, what else do we have right here? I think that's it. In this part, we don't have more than, oh no, we have the harmonies right and left.
Hard to articulate, to enunciate, but I know you're waiting for it.
And these are the parts that make up the full vocal. And now the first thing I always do, because like lining up all of them is a lot of work, because they need to be perfect on top of each other so that it sounds like one as much as possible. And there's a little plugin that I got. This is probably by far the biggest time saver whenever it comes to vocals and layering vocals. This is called Vocal Line, and you can capture the guide vocal, you can capture the dub, and after capturing it, it will align it for you so that it sits on top of each other. If you do a lot of vocal editing, if you have a lot of vocal tracks in each of your song, this one really big time saver. It will just put all of the vocals for you underneath, line them up perfectly, and everything will sound a lot better. And yeah, a lot of time saved, because it's annoying cutting the vocal, putting all of the words together and on top of each other. So it does it for you. By the way, if anyone is interested in any of the plugins that I'm using, I will link them all down below so you can go check them out. Most of them provide you with a demo for like 14 days or even longer. So maybe just try them out and see if they actually fit into your workflow. Then next I do, after capturing all of it, stacking everything on top of each other, aligning everything, is then basically making sure that I have a low cut on every single track. Pretty simple. I just use the Logic EQ because it's so convenient. I just cut away the low end that isn't needed in the song, just to make sure there is no mic rumble in there, no like vibrations or anything that the mic could have picked up. The next step is then usually a compressor. I sometimes use just the standard Logic compressor. The main vocal is where you need to apply the most compression to get the levels right. Compression, again, is making sure that the quiet parts get louder by you telling the compressor above a certain threshold to lower everything. So everything that is above that threshold gets lowered, and then the entire signal is made louder again. So all of the peaks are reduced and the audio is sounding more equal. Very important for vocals, because no singer on this planet is singing perfectly. And even the ones that are trained to move away from the mic, in the studio you actually want them to stand still and do it in post, because this way you get better quality. Setting the compression, you can actually push it quite hard on vocals. Just do it by hearing, like lower the threshold and see if it's too much, too little. Same goes, of course, for the ratio, and the attack I would keep fairly short, and the release, again, depends on the style of vocal, the singing, the vibe you're going for, but compression, that's like a whole nother video. And I always do it this way: first the EQ to get rid of the low end, then the compression, because the compressor will change the sound, and then I actually EQ again, and that's then more the creative EQing. For that, I also usually use the Logic EQ, or I go for one of the vintage emulations just to spice things up a little. For example, I'm using it at the moment a little more because it's new. I got Ozone 9, and it has this special vintage EQ that like gives quite a lot of character to your source material. And in general, you will like boost the vocal in the very top end, because some microphones can't capture that well, and low cut again the very low. And then it really depends on so many things. Like when it comes to vocals, EQing them, you can go in there and use a dynamic EQ. So for example, whenever she's singing a K or something that is like low and hard, to EQ it differently than all of the rest. It really depends. It's so situational. Here in this case, there are some syllables that are like popping out, so I would use a dynamic EQ to reduce them. There's also an option available by iZotope actually that is pretty good. And sometimes in extreme scenarios, Soothie could help you. It's like detecting resonating frequencies. And getting rid of them, but use it like carefully. You don't want to change the voice too much, because then it sounds artificial, strange, because we're like, our ears are so tuned to the human voice. Like everything that is like strange will directly throw us off from listening to the track and enjoying it. The harmonies and the left and right and everything, EQing, I usually keep it the same. I might even boost a little more the top end to give them that sparkle. And then the next huge step after like EQing compression is then definitely the reverb. I have mine set up on a bus, and it's 99% of the time the Valhalla Vintage Verb. And again, here it's all about setting it right. The pre-delay I would just put to 0. It's not really like, it sounds a little weird on a vocal that is like fully embedded in a mix. Decay times really depends also on how much mix you actually use. And then what's really important, and I would always do, is low cutting the reverb to make sure that the reverb itself is also really clean. The next step is then mixing all of these vocals and make it sound as good as possible. I would again put the main vocal always mono in the center, have the main reverb. If you use effects like delays, all of them always on the main vocal. And then the doubles, the harmonies just in the background, like maybe 10% in there, so that you hear them definitely when you take them off again. And make sure to also check that in the entire mix, because in the mix you might actually have to bump them to compete with everything else that is going on. This again depends really on like the part in the song. If it's like the full drop with all of the instruments, you might have to raise the volume of the doubles and harmonies a little to make them audible. But if it's just like a kick bass drop, you might maybe actually need a lot less. There's like a simple way to cheat if you don't have harmonies, if you don't have doubles, to make it sound big and epic. The first one would like be the compensation for having left and rights. You could just use a chorus and add it. So first without and then with.
Hard to articulate, to enunciate, but I know you're waiting for it. I just can't let it go, reason unknown.
It phases a little. I don't like that, so I prefer recording doubles, but if you don't have any, that's a way to do it. And then also the harmonies you can fake by just like doing another track, copying down the vocal, and then pitch it up or pitch it down. So you could, for example, create a fake lower octave, 12 semitones down, mix all the way. But then of course, like the low one, you just want it to be in there to have like this bass low kind of feeling and not really make it audible, except of course if you make music where you want to have it as an effect.
Hard to articulate, to enunciate, but I know you're waiting for it.
This can really help to make the voice sound thicker and bigger and more epic. Again, here it depends on the rest of the song, the mixing, if you have other elements in there that have low end, but that's really nice to add. You can also do the same for the very high. And you could also try and fake harmonies if you use, for example, Melodyne, or there are, I think, a ton of other plugins that can also do it. You could also try to use a vocoder, play it with the chords of the song, and make the vocal even thicker, but that's really something that is up to preference. Some people don't like the vocoder song, it depends on the style, but it then usually sounds like one of the Z songs or like Daft Punk. They're like most famous for the vocoder. The last part is, for me at least, the most annoying, and that is like cleaning up the vocal. I always do it last, because sometimes in the mix there are things you can't hear, so I don't bother with them, just to be a little faster. And sometimes due to compression and EQing, things that weren't audible at the beginning are audible later, so I keep it for last. And I just listen to the vocal a million times. If there's breathing in it, I either use by Isotope Nectar, and I'm using the old version because I think they removed it in the new version and made it a separate plugin. But there's like a breathe and target, and you then just like check how much you want to reduce the breathing.
Hard to articulate, to enunciate.
It's now killing all of the breathing, which doesn't sound that natural, again with full breathing.
Hard to articulate, to enunciate.
So something in the middle could be usable.
Hard to articulate, to enunciate.
Again, that's totally up to you. If you make like an acoustic version of a song, I would leave the breathing in there and just control it and lower it a little to make it sound natural and human. If you make a big dance track and there's a lot of stuff going on, the breathing doesn't really matter. You could then also just cut it away. That's really a stylistic choice, but this plugin does it really fast. Also, I'll link down below, of course. And then we have, I use a lot the de-click, de-crackle, de-hum, de-reverb, and de-mouth, de-click. These are like little like restoration plugins that measure like the song and then apply magic. I don't know how it actually works, but it's like it's removing clicks and like the mouth noises. Sometimes like they have a really wet mouth, or like these kind of sounds like the tongue pressing against something, and getting rid of them is really hard, but this plugin basically does it automatically, and it's usually worth trying. I mean, worst case, you have to cut it out yourself, or even go in there and redraw the waveform of your song, which you can actually do pretty easily in Logic. But be careful with it. If you do it wrong, like for example, a click would look like this, and to get rid of it, you could then just smoothen it out. And for like small, short clicks, it actually works. But if it's longer than a couple of samples, you're pretty much screwed. It will be in there, and you might have to cut, fade in, fade out. But that's how I go about vocals. Let me think if I forgot anything. I think I haven't. If I forgot anything that you do, just leave it in the comments, share it with everyone. Just check out the comments if someone has some other thing that they do. Of course, pitch correcting is very important. But this was already done by the singer. Some singers like to do it themselves because they know how their voice behaves. Some of them don't want to send out things that aren't tuned and pitched, because some producers then actually don't do it and the blame is on them. So a lot of people that top line actually do it themselves. But if it's not done, if you record the vocal, then definitely run it through Melodyne, or Logic has it embedded, Cubase as well, like just to correct the pitch. So thanks a lot for watching. I hope this video helped you to get your song and your vocals to the next level, to be a little more professional. Tomorrow, back again here on this channel, another vlog from the studio. Probably continuing like working on the A Studio and make it look nicer and epic, hopefully soon.